Hey friend, Chris here from Logic Pro Rules, the website and channel that helps you get the most you can out of Apple's Logic Pro. Today, I'm back with another video covering that perennial problem, the perennial issue of smart tempo and flex time and beat maps and all this stuff. Because maybe you have a project where you have a loop or you have a creative idea and you want to be able to line up your performances, your other ideas to this one in your project as you see on screen. But how do you get the grid to line up with the loop? How do you extract a beat map? How do you flex things? I love these functions in Logic Pro. I think Smart Tempo, Flex, and all these things are amazing, but seems to be the gift that keeps on giving for other Logic users. So a subscriber, Richard, reached out to me and said, hey, Chris, I like to record myself playing my LinnDrum into Logic Pro, and then he would export it into a separate application to create a loop and then bring it back in. But he was always having problems when he tries to stay in Logic Pro, managing tempo and these details I'm kind of teasing out here. So I want to show you with this simple example, this mono LinnDrum loop, how to accomplish beat mapping, extracting the tempo, flexing if you need to, adding other performances. So let's dig into it. On screen is the drum loop that Richard sent me. I re-downloaded the project. I've just popped it open. Let's take a listen and a look at what we're working with here. First, I'll disable the metronome just so we can hear what's going on with this drum loop. Take a listen. Perfect. Now notice the tempo in the LCD says 120 beats per minute. When I enable the metronome, take a listen and let's see where the drum loop is in relation to the metronome. Okay, so we're nowhere close to the current BPM. That's fine though, because I'm assuming that Richard was not tracking to the BPM in Logic Pro. He had his own idea going on. And that's the thing here. This loop is operating on its own timing. And I need to figure out what that timing actually is. Anytime I'm dealing with tempo and trying to figure out what the tempo is of a region or a track, the first step for me always is to select that region and open the editor. In my case, I press E, but of course you can use the pencil button right at the top here. Okay, and I'm going to navigate to the Smart Tempo tab. And let's take a look. Smart Tempo is populated with the region that's selected. And if I zoom in, we can see these beat markers and downbeat markers. Let's take a listen to what this sounds like again with the metronome in the Smart Tempo editor. Okay, so the BPM supposedly for our audio file and region is 120 beats per minute. Funny enough, that's the tempo of the project, right? As you can see in the LCD, and if we open the global track lane, look at that, 120 beats per minute if we take a look at the tempo track lane. But obviously the LinnDrum was not playing at 120 beats per minute. This tempo just happened to be embedded in the file because Richard hit record and he recorded his performance and he didn't worry about tempo in the project. That means Logic Pro embeds project tempo data into the recordings that you record into a project. This is helpful to Logic Pro as you import audio files from one project to the next and how to flex them or how to stretch them to match the project tempo of a different project. So step one, we need to figure out the tempo of this drum loop. Easy enough. Just go to the edit menu in the Smart Tempo editor. Then select the option Analyze Tempo. Okay. We'll go back to the beginning. Now, I'll point out that the downbeat marker is no longer right around here somewhere. Instead, the downbeat marker is with the kick drum, which would normally be the downbeat of a new bar. Let's now take a listen to the audio alongside the metronome inside the editor. The metronome sounds perfectly in time with the audio. And notice in the display here in the editor that the tempo is updating every beat or so. Beautiful. So now we have our varying tempo. Basically, what I've accomplished with Smart Tempo is creating a tempo map for this performance. And you can see in the preview above in the editor, a tempo overlay that shows the varying tempo over time. At this point, I just need to apply the varying tempo to my project. Because we intend to record or add Apple loops or anything else, and we want that stuff to line up with the LinnDrum. So I'll go to Edit, and I'll apply the region tempo to the project tempo. we get this pop-up. Logic Pro wants to make sure, do you want to align the downbeat to the nearest project downbeat? For me, it's always a yes. And do you want to maintain relative positions of other regions? There are no other regions that we can see, but yeah, sure, why not? And I'll click apply. Okay, so check it out. Let's close the Smart Tempo editor for a second. Notice that even though I had all these variations across the performance, Logic Pro is showing us basically one tempo. And if I move the playhead here, we see 89. Let's open the list editors right up here in the upper right-hand corner, and we can look at the tempo. And we can see the tempo from bar 1 to bar 2 is 89.0396. After that, at about bar 17, it's 89.0406, and it keeps going, right? What Logic Pro has done here is it's figured out the average tempo across the performance, and it's imposed that average tempo into the tempo track lane. And for most scenarios, this will be good enough. Let's hear the tempo alongside our audio file. Right, it sounds plenty good enough. But for your own purposes, you may say, no, this is not good enough. This is not working for me. I need a moment-by-moment, play-by-play of the beat map. Easy enough. I'm going to open the editor once again, and I'm going to go to the Smart Tempo editor. And once again, I'll go to edit, and I'm going to apply the region tempo. But before I can do that, I need to go to the LCD at the top, click right where it says keep, and I'm going to select the Smart Tempo project settings. And in the Smart Tempo project settings are options, export tempo resolution. Currently, it's set to smooth, which is how we get this averaging of tempo instead of the play-by-play, beat-by-beat version of tempo. I'm going to switch export tempo resolution to beats and close this window. Okay, let's now go to edit and go down to apply region tempo to the project tempo one more time. And I'll click apply. Look at all the variations in tempo in the global tracks here. In the list editor, look at that. 89.3436, 4046, 7159, and it just keeps going. Now, again, the previous option of smooth is probably completely usable for most use cases. But in the event that you feel like the smoothing option is a little too smooth and doesn't provide enough nuance, enough insight into the tempo of your project, the beats resolution might be a better fit. Let me close the list editor here and close the editor. And let's hear the tempo map in action. Sounds great to me. And if you ever want to be able to see the tempo in the LCD more specifically than what we see right now, which is just 89, well, you can go right to the drop-down arrow and you can choose to customize or a custom view here of the LCD. So now we can see the specific value. Beautiful. At this point, I can start to drop in Apple Loop, Session Player, start recording other ideas. But what happens when you want to record, a 3.5, 4 minute song to this drum beat with this tempo map? Because if we go to view and show the secondary ruler, we're at about 1:25. And I might want 4 minutes of drums instead of 1:25. Well, in this case, we're going to need to copy the drum loop several times so we have 4 minutes worth of drums. How do I accomplish this and copy the tempo map with the loop? This is actually pretty easy. We're going to go right up to keep tempo and change keep tempo to adapt tempo. All right, past this one region with this custom tempo map, we see an orange line in the tempo global track. This indicates that there's the possibility of changing the tempo if we record, if we move a region. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to copy and paste this drum loop further down. Let me first take a look at the front end of this region and notice that the region starts a little before bar 2, where the downbeat occurs. There's a couple hits of a cabasa before the main kick hit. But I would recommend that you always want to start on a downbeat. So for now, I'm going to slice with the playhead and remove this first section that is before bar 2. Okay. Now I want to copy this region right at bar 32. Let's do it right now. I'll select my region, hold Option, click and drag, and drop it right at bar 32. Notice the red that has occurred. This is letting me know that tempo is being changed based on my copying and pasting. Let's zoom in and make sure I dropped it at bar 32. Perfect. From here, I'm going to change adapt tempo back to keep tempo because when adapt tempo is on, I run the risk of making a change just about doing anything in the project, and I prefer not to make further changes. Let's take a listen to this transition here. Here we go. Sounds good to me. I can now backfill the region. And now we don't have that gap. And of course, we would add a crossfade or a fade. But for now, I just want to take a listen to this transition. Beautiful. So I'm going to undo what I just did, and I'm going to copy and paste again to further pad out the drums. But notice that I forgot to turn on adapt. So let's undo, go right back up, and enable adapt. And copy and paste. All right, we're perfect. We're in great shape. I can turn this off. Select the two regions, backfill them. We are in perfect shape to start laying down other creative ideas. Now, this is on the assumption that you want to use the entire loop. And Richard actually asked me, hey, Chris, can you just pick out a couple bars and essentially do the same thing? So let's do that right now. Let's get rid of these two regions. I'll turn off adapt for now. And let's just locate maybe bar 2 to about, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So bar 6. And I probably want to go right here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 bars. All right, we'll get rid of the rest of that. I want to loop this section. I want to make sure the tempo matches for the entire performance because as you noticed in the list editor, not every moment of this performance is identical. So let's do it again. Let's go up to keep tempo, go to adapt, and now I'll copy and paste this section. All right, copy and paste, and it continues to change. Now, instead of me copying and pasting by dragging, let me hold Command and press R to repeat the region. And you'll notice that there are minor variations occurring that are being copied into the tempo track. And I'll just continue going the rest of the way down. Awesome. Let's set this back to keep and take a listen to the transition. Okay, two more things for you. The second thing is, hey, let's start bringing in some other performers or Apple loops or something else to see if they line up. So I'll bring in bass player. I'll bring bass player down here and we'll take a listen. Can bass player hang with what's going on? Now let's go to the end. Sounds pretty dang good to me. And we've retained the humanity. That was a really important detail here, is retaining the humanity of the LinnDrum performance. Now, on the off chance that Richard or yourself decide later on, hey, maybe I want this entire audio file to conform to one tempo instead of the variations over time, well, this can be accomplished as well, in this case using Flex. So I'm going to select the track for the LinnDrum loop and go to the region inspector. And I'm going to set Flex and Follow from off to on. The rest of the options of align bars and beats, those don't matter. It's just turning it on. And then we'll reveal Flex here in the tracks area. Notice these blue lines, and these indicate tempo. They're tempo markers. I want to make sure to set, in this case, the Flex mode from polyphonic to slicing. Because it is a drum loop, slicing mode tends to be the best option for drums. And now, if I select all of my tempo nodes and press delete, oh, something's happened here. Let's set the tempo to 120 beats per minute. And I'm going to mute the bass for now, but let's take a listen. That's pretty cool. Let's go even faster. Brilliant. It's that effective and that easy. And then you can just hide flex and move on with the rest of your life. There you go. Another video all about smart tempo, flex, beat mapping, all these things that many of us need, but it's not seemingly obvious in Logic Pro. Thanks so much to Richard for sending along his question, his project, and for giving me permission to use his project. I hope this video was helpful for you, and I'll check you for more later next week. Take care.